You know why I'm playing this song? Because it's one of your favorites, Marky, that's why. There's historic significance to it. Happened today. Alright, that's Sister Sledge and We Are Family. Greatest fight song that ever accompanied a baseball team. 40 years ago today, how many people are aware of this? 40 years ago today, the Pittsburgh Pirates made a trade that had significant impact on the area. And it also won them the World Series. Today, 40 years ago today, Harding P. Peterson, general manager of the Pittsburgh Pirates, traded Ed Whitson along with Al Holland, who would become a relief pitcher of some note in later years. I want to say Fred Brining, too. Traded them to the San Francisco Giants for Bill Madlock and also Lenny Randall, who would never play for the Pirates and all this. But anyway, that was the big deal. Ed Whitson, of course, the only baseball player ever drafted, or whoever made it from Unicoi County High School. He's not the only professional athlete. They've had minor league baseball players, for instance, but he's the only major leaguer ever to come from Unicoi County High School. Not the only major leaguer from the area. Certainly Daniel Norris, who pitches, today. I mean, look at that, from Science Hill. But he's the only Blue Devil, or Yellow Jacket, or Tiger, if you want to go way, way back. Ed Whitson. Whitson was 2-3 with the Bucks that year. They won the division by 2 games, but it was Madlock who hit .328 and played third base and really carried him. Bill Madlock is the last Pirate team captain. There you go. They haven't had one since 1985. He replaced Willie Stargell. There you go. But yes, Madlock is last team captain, and anyway, Madlock also was from Memphis. Although he went to high school in Illinois, but he was born in Memphis. So you could really argue that this was a deal, East Tennessee for West Tennessee. Whitson for Madlock, which was done 40 years ago today. It basically, like I said, won the World Series for the Pirates. They were down in the World Series, the Orioles, 3-1 that year. Haven't been back to the series since then, but they were down 3-1. And as I recall, Madlock had the go-ahead hit in Game 5. And after that, the Pirates went back to Baltimore, took 2 more games, and won the World Series. Their last World Championship. Willie Stargell hitting a home run to win the '79 series in the 7th game. Phil Garner from Jefferson City, a Tennessee Volunteer, hit .500 in that series. So yeah, that was big. And Madlock's the only player with 4 batting titles not in the Hall of Fame. Keep seeing all this, Vada Pinson should be in the Hall of Fame stuff. And frankly, I gotta tell you, if you look at Mad Dog's stats and Pinson's, they got the exact same slugging percentage for one thing. Madlock has an average 20 points higher. It's hard for me not to say that Mad Dog, the all-time leading Chicago Cubs hitter, by the way, should not be in the Hall of Fame, certainly over Vada Pinson, but his argument is as great as Pinson's. Madlock didn't even get 5% of the vote to stay on the ballot. And so that sometimes tells you what a popularity contest Hall of Fame voting can be. We had the All-Star voting. That is popularity contest. Talk about that a little bit later on in the show. Of course, Josh Brown, Knock Home a Nation, talking Braves at 1:30. Jerry Bonkowski talking NASCAR at 1 p.m. All right. But anyway, that was really big. And for me, the '79 Pirates are easily, in my own personal taste, my favorite all-time sports team. I mean, we have a favorite team, but which season is it that is your favorite team? If you are a Mets fan, or is the '86 Mets, the '69 Mets, the '62 Mets, which one is your favorite? I would suggest to you that if you're a Chicago Cubs fan, I mean, the easy thing to say, 2006 team is my favorite, but to a lot of people, maybe 69 or 84, one of those teams that broke your heart would be your all-time favorite team. Generally speaking, maybe it might be the team that when you were a kid, because it's always bigger for you when you're a kid. The athletes are idols and all this. maybe when you were a kid, even if they didn't win at all, maybe even if they finished in last place, but they're just your favorite team. I mean, I'm sure there are Braves fans of the era out there that I could name Buzz Capra or Biff Pocoroba, and they'd instantly smile. Absolute. Where did you, Rob Bellor? Yeah, you could have bet good money that I could have done all this show without a reference to Rob Beller, or something like that. I'm doing baseball here, but if you're a Reds fan, I can mention, I don't know, Jim Greengrass from back in the day. Joe Garagiola used to always do that, certainly. But, I mean, it could be anybody. It could be, Clay Kirby or Fred Norman. How short was he? Didn't necessarily have to be one of the starters, the Big Red Machine, or something. Cesar Geronimo. I mean, you could name one of those guys, and you're going to smile. That's your guy. That's your team. And maybe Reds were winners back then, but maybe it was a team that didn't win so much. Paul Householder. He was an outfielder for the Reds. A lot was expected out of him. He did absolutely nothing. I was 11 years old. That's how I remember it. There you go. So, you take stuff like that with you. And for me, the 79 Pirates, that was my favorite. I've said this many a time. My family was not a sports family. Didn't have much interest. I was 8 years old. My mother got a fellowship at the University of Pittsburgh. She would 7 years later become a professor at East Tennessee State, but she got a fellowship at Pitt. And we moved to Pittsburgh in the summer of 1979, and that was the City of Champions year. And if you were a little boy, you could not resist sports in Pittsburgh at that time. That's why I'm here right now. First game I ever went to was a month later. A friend of mine, Jamie Purnell, took me to my first baseball game. I did not know what a ball was in terms of, I knew there was a spherical object called a ball, but I did not know what 4 balls for a walk meant. I did not know that rule. I learned that day, September 29th, 1979. I later learned that the Pirates, if they had won the game, would have clinched the division. They clinched it the next day. I remember Jamie wanted to go to the game the next day. They were giving away a horse. It was the last game of the year. Prize Day, they called it back then. That was what the Pirates called Fan Appreciation Day back then. And you could win one of 100 broken pirate bats if you went to, Prize Day the next day. That's where you wanted to go. If I did, they would have clinched the division. That would have been my first game. Oh, well. Didn't happen that way. So, second half of that game is on YouTube, by the way, the first one that I went to. But anyway, and it was just contagious after that. And so, anyway, the deal that won the Buccos the world title that year, Whitson for Madlock, took place 40 years ago today, dealing Irwin's own Ed Whitson for Memphis's, although he had been removed and moved to Illinois, Bill Madlock. There you go. Happened for baseball history affecting us right here in East Tennessee in Unicoi County. And we'll be back after this.
Boys will be taking a trifecta approach to outdoor recreation. They'll discuss summer fishing tactics and